What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of Writer's Block. I'm your host, Marcus Love. And you know what this is. This is a show where we talk to established writers, published writers, and aspiring writers, screenwriters, directors, all of the arts. Today, we got a very special guest. He's a native of Kentucky, came to LA over 2 decades ago. He's the founder of Digital Mind Media. He's writer, director of A Million Dead Presidents, Expanse of Death, and the upcoming thriller Black Baby. We have Mr. Mosheh Israel. And we see if we get our man down there on the line right now. Mosheh, you on there? Kind of lost your signal there. Link. Technical difficulties getting my guest on here. You on there, Mosheh?
Okay, Marcus.
Apologies, my man.
It's okay. We got it.
Man, it cut right off in the middle of it, man. Had the intro coming in.
Yeah, so we got it.
That's it. I'm having a blessed day. Other than that, how about you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I was looking forward to this.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it, my man.
So the links, they expire in a certain time.
No kidding. Yeah, I know. I think I gave it to you way too early. Learning experience. Anyway, those are still here. Well, we're back on schedule. Writer's block. Mr. Mosheh Israel, screenwriter, director. Went down through your list of films. A Million Dead Presidents. Black Baby is the one that's coming up.
Yeah,
And well, you know, got a lot of inspiring filmmakers out there, Mosheh. You know what I'm saying? You've are going to let these guys and gals, I'm sure there's ladies out there that want to get into the industry also, you're going to give them a realistic view of what to expect, what they have to do to achieve their goals, and just learn from any experiences or mistakes that you may have, you know, occurred during your time doing this stuff. So
where would you like to start? Because there's writers, and then there's storytellers, and those are two different things. They're not the same. So
can you pump the volume up a little bit more there, on your
Okay, hold on. Let me cut it up.
I can hear you just fine. I want the listeners to be able to hear you.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, much better, brother. So you're talking about the difference between a writer and a storyteller?
Right. Those are two different things. Uh, if you want to become a good writer, you need to study English, take classes, literature classes. You need to know where all the quotation marks go in language. All of those things if you want to be a good writer. But you can learn all of those things, and just because you know those things don't mean you can write a successful screenplay, because that's not what a screenplay is about. A screenplay is about telling a story, which is totally different. So you have a lot of people who can write books, who can write literature, but they can't tell a story when it comes to us going to the movie and looking to go on a journey. Those are two different things. If you want to be in this business as a good writer, then you can do that, and you don't have to be that creative, because if somebody writes a good story, but they're not a good writer, then they'll hire that writer to come in and straighten that story out. But the story's already been told. So there's a big difference. So if there's a screenwriter that's listening to this right now, then they need to know that telling a good story has nothing to do with being a good writer, and a good writer has nothing to do with being a good storyteller. Let me put this phone down real quick, because everybody's trying to get in here. Okay, there we go. So yeah, there's a big difference. So where would you like to start, on the writer, or on the storyteller, or on writer's block?
Wherever you want to start, I'm gonna let you rock with it, because I was going to get into the technical aspect, but you kind of went to between the difference of a writer and a storyteller. That's very interesting. I'm glad you laid that out and made that distinction.
Well, let me ask you a question, and let me put this to everybody that's watching. Remember that what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Remember that?
Basically.
Okay, so you have to ask yourself this question: what comes first? Because they tell you you can read all these books, right? And you can learn and study these books on how to format and how to write great stories. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Something has to happen on page 30, something on 60, takes you to the end. They got all these different formulas, right? 3 acts, 4 acts. So let me ask you this: what comes first, the writer or the book? All the books that you read, what comes first, the writer or the book?
I would have to say the writer.
Right, it's the writer. So you need to understand that it's not, the book is not the intelligence. The writer is the intelligence. A book doesn't have a brain, so it's not intelligent. So you have the brain. So you are the intelligence, and this is what you put on paper. You put your intelligence on paper. So any great story, we were telling stories back in the day when we first started making movies, right? So what happens in books is they'll watch a movie and then they'll break it down into all of these different parts. Well, I guarantee you, when I write a screenplay, I'm not thinking about any of those things. Act 1, Act 2, something's got to happen on page 24. So let me write something here. And then, no, that's crazy, because that's not how you tell a story. What you're doing now is just formatting something that you heard or that you read in a book. So it's a big difference. So that's why I said when you have writer's block, and I know that was one of the subjects, usually it's because people don't have a story to tell. So they sit down in front of a computer, they're looking at a blank page, they're trying to get an idea in their head about something. For instance, the one that I got a lot of calls on, Black Baby, the one that you have
The upcoming film Black Baby.
Right.
Yes.
So this is how this works, where you don't have writer's block. So when I thought about the film, it was because I wrote a screenplay called Dead Clowns Walking. It was supposed to be a low budget film. It wind up coming to like anywhere from a low of 1 million and a high of 3 million. So I had to write another one that kept it in the low budget range. So I said, okay, I'm going to write something in one location with 4 actors in a cabin and nowhere to go. So this way I kind of boxed myself in, right? So I came up with 2 couples rob a bank. The white couple are expecting a baby. They go into the log. They go into the log cabin, and when the baby was supposed to be born after they went to Mexico, got on a plane to go to Paris, but the baby came before that, and the baby came out black. So now, when the baby comes out black, the black girl is looking at the black guy like, "Hey, why is your best friend girl having a black baby?" And he's like, "It's not me." And so all the distrust starts to happen in the cabin. Plus, there's $1.6 million in the cabin, right? And so then,
Okay.
as we go through the movie, it winds up ending up that 3 of them wind up dead because the black girl and the white girl planned it all from the beginning to get these guys in to rob this bank. And because they were lesbians, a white lesbian and a black lesbian, they wanted to have a biracial child. So they used these 2 guys to rob the bank, and the black girl got out of the way so the black guy could sleep with the white girl. They gave him that opportunity, right? And he took it. And so now they got the money, they got the baby. Now they got to do is kill these guys, right? So they kill these guys, but the black girl didn't understand that the white girl had a split personality, and she was a psychopath. So her second personality wind up killing the black girl, and now it's just her, the baby, and the money. But the whole time there's a guy that's been out in those woods for ages, and his wife has been trying to give him a child, and he has buried 7 dead babies because his wife wasn't able
Whoa.
to deliver.
All the dead babies that his wife had?
The babies are buried out back in his yard. His wife died on the 7th one, and he's upset, and he hates God, he hates the devil. He felt like everything was taken from him. He never had a child. So he's been watching these 2 couples. So when she takes the baby and put it out in the car, he goes in and takes the money. When she goes back into the house, he takes the baby. But he knows she's going to come looking for him, all right? And so when she finds him, she's got a gun on him. She kicks the door in, and she's like, what? He's like, what took you so long? Because he knew that she was coming for it. He said, if you want to take the baby, go ahead, but I buried the money out in the woods, and you're never going to find it. As a matter of fact, you're a city girl. You won't last long out here anyway. So he winds up getting a wife, getting a baby, and he got the money. 5 years later, we come back, we zoom in, come back 5 years later, they done redecorated the place. The baby's 5 years old, the dog is keeping up, right? So that's what happens in that story. Now, so that's how I started my story. And I wouldn't write anything until I could talk to you the way that I'm talking to you now. And when people make a mistake is they get an idea and then they start writing a story. Well, I didn't tell you any of the scenes. I just kind of told you the story, right? So now once you have all of that, you got 2 couples robbing the bank, go to a cabin. The white girl has a black child. It's the baby by the black guy. They wind up dead. The baby and the money winds up going to this guy who has lost 7 children, and his wife died trying to give him one on her last breath, and it didn't happen. There you go. That's a full movie, start to finish to end. So I tell people, if you can't do that with a story, then you don't need to bother trying to write one because you're just going to be banging your head against the wall.
So I want the readers, well, not the readers, the actual viewers, to understand what you're saying. So can you kind of tell them how long it took you to write this screenplay, including the ones prior to this, and your process of it? Because we talked before the show started, and you were really getting into the speed of how you got this story out.
Well, when you first met me, that was, and you came to my script read. That was the first screenplay I ever wrote.
Yeah, that was back in the day, back in 2000, 2001, I think.
And so to complete that script, I think it took me about 7 years. 7 years. The next one, it took me about 3 or 4 years, and the next one a couple of years, and now Dead Clowns Walking, it took me 3 weeks, close to a month, and then I did a couple of rewrites. This one, it took 10 days. I did the rewrite in the next 10 days, right? It didn't take long at all because over the time I've learned never write and not unless you can see the story. If you have an idea, you need to know the ending before you know anything.
That's what I wanted to get up to. Knowing the ending. That's your cure of not getting writer's block. When you will do your screenplays, you already see the ending, it's formatted in your head, and that's your secret to getting those scripts out so fast, correct?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Because it's just like we're watching the Olympics, right? Right? And those fast guys and girls are on the starting block, right? And the gun, right? Okay.
Boom. Yeah.
We don't know what's going to go on between the middle, right? But we do know what's going to happen at the finish line. Somebody's going to cross first. So we know that's going to be the ending of that race. Now, do we know what's going to happen between that? No. Somebody might trip. Somebody might fall. They might get their legs entangled. You don't know. But all those people on the line are focused on one thing. And what is that? The ending. Getting across that line. They want to get across that line first because once they do that, that's the ending of the story. They got it. So if you can think of, if you know how your story is going to end and you know where it's going to start, then it's not hard to put the pieces together. So this is what I tell people. If you want a screenplay, you want to write a screenplay, don't write it in final draft.
Don't write it in final draft?
Stay away from all the programs.
Okay.
Go into Microsoft Word and type your story. When you get to 20 to 25 pages, 20 to 25 pages in Microsoft Word equal 100 to 110 pages in final draft. So you you put your 20 to 25 pages on one side of the computer screen. You put final draft on the other side. You read your first sentence and you transfer it over into a final draft, but you create the world with it. Whatever that sentence, right? Let's say two guys are coming out of building with a bank to rob a bank. They just robbed. Well, in final draft, you put the streets are crowded. It's a busy street, cars, people are going through their everyday life, this. And these two men come running out, pedestrians are in the way, gunshots are fired. Well, okay, so now you can create it like 5 or 6 more sentences off of the one.
And that speeds things up, right? I mean, doing it first in Microsoft Word and putting it on Final Draft later. I never thought of that. I always went right to Final Draft and just start sweating out the pages. I never thought about using Word first. That's a good idea.
Well, if you use Microsoft Word first, how can you ever have a writer's block? It's impossible.
For real.
You do is look at Microsoft Word and you see your next sentence. Let me tell you the problem I have. The problem I have is I just can't get it out fast enough, dude. Writer's block.
You've had it for a while now. Yeah, you are smoking. Now, what we're talking about here are technical aspects of writing these screenplays. So since we're on technical, can we get into more of the technical jobs in making of films, like director of photography or DP and their jobs, and how you merge that with the lighting, the dialogue with the actors? Can you get more into that? Because there's a lot of people out there that are in film school, or some who are thinking about going to film school, or some people just want to go out and wing it on their own. So can you give me any technical advice on that?
Before we leave this subject, I just want to end it by saying this. If you are an inspiring writer, writers do not write for actors. Any of the dialogue that we write as writers is not for the actors to talk to each other. Actors read the screenplay. They know what's going on both sides of the story. We don't write dialogue, and we don't write realistic dialogue. People are like, I want to make my screenplay realistic.
Yeah.
Because ain't nobody interested in realistic. That's why we pay money to go to the movies. We don't want to see. We want to see realistic. We just stay at home. So it looks like the actors are talking to each other. But if you want to tell a great story, you got to remember that when you're writing dialogue, you're communicating with the audience. You're not writing for one character to talk to another character. You're actually writing the dialogue to either reveal or conceal something from the audience. That's why when you see a good movie, you just key in on it and your whole mind is on that movie. Why? Because they got you. That dialogue is talking to you, right? You're in it. But when you see a movie where actors are talking to actors because the writer, hey Marcus, how you doing? Oh, I'm fine, Mosheh. It's good. Where you going? Oh, I'm going to my car. I'm running around the store. Okay. What is that? What is that? That's just
sounds very robotic. Sounds very stiff.
It's just a waste of time. It's like if I say, hey Mosheh, what's up? I just killed somebody. What? I just killed somebody. A kid. Right, that look on your face. That's what you're gonna have.
I'm just thinking about a movie I watched on Netflix because we're all sheltering in place because of this, coronavirus crisis going on. And I'm thinking about all the bad movies I've been watching the past week. And I'm thinking about, I'm not going to say which one it is, but it's Hollywood put a lot of money behind it. And halfway through, I didn't know what was going on. So I think you're right, because I didn't know what was going on. They had this choppy dialogue going back and forth. And I can get up, get something to eat, get some popcorn, go to the restroom, come back. I hadn't missed anything because I guess the director didn't, or the DP and the director didn't come together and push that out the way you're saying it.
Right.
Is that really, I mean, I'm not a professional director like you are, so I'm thinking, is that commonplace in Hollywood right now? Like the more movies are like that?
If you're a good director, you will know if the characters are talking to each other, are they talking to the audience? And you'll fix that. You'll go hire another writer, which they do all the time. You know that, right? In Hollywood.
I see those big blockbuster movies have 4 or 5 writers for one script.
Yeah, because they couldn't get it to talk to the audience. And then they'll hire somebody else, and then they'll mess it up even more. And then they'll hire somebody else, and they'll mess it up even more. So the best thing you can do is like Quentin Tarantino, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want to read that guy's screenplay. I don't want to read nothing by Quentin Tarantino.
Well, I gotta ask why.
It's a freaking mess. Matter of fact, over at Starbucks, when me and you over there,
mm-hmm.
He was over there, right? So he writes with pencils and stuff. Dude, it's a freaking mess. But I'm gonna tell you something.
All over the place.
Yes, if he had to submit his screenplay into a contest or submit it to a studio, it would never make it out the door, right? It's so wordy. Oh my God, it's a disaster. But here's the thing. He doesn't do it properly to sell it to anyone, right? Because he's going to do it himself. And he's a great storyteller, right?
And we said in the beginning, there's a writer and then there's a storyteller, something that you're born with, right? You can't teach someone to be a storyteller. Either it's in their DNA or it's not, right?
You can't teach that. But if you don't have it, you can still, because we've seen stories that are not great, but good, right? But Quentin Tarantino is amazing with his dialogue, how he shoots his movie, right? It's like Alfred Hitchcock said, you can write whatever you want on a piece of paper. How you shoot it is going to determine if I get your attention or not. So there's a bomb in the movie theater that's going to go off in 60 seconds. So I'm going to let the audience know that the bomb is there. So we're going to show them the bomb before it goes off to the audience. And then we're going to show it tick, 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 tick. And then the audience is going to go like, oh my God, they're going to wait. Is somebody going to run in there? Is somebody going to warn these people? Get them out of there before the bomb blows up? Well, what happens if they don't show the audience that the bomb is in the audience in the movie theater and it just blows up out of nowhere, right? Okay, so
people are going to be frustrated, like, where'd that come from?
But you'll get a shock for like 3 seconds, right? but your heart is pounding like in The Exorcist. If you want to know how to tell a story, go watch The Exorcist. It was made in the 1970s.
1973, Linda Blair, yeah.
Nothing happens in that movie for 45 minutes, almost an hour. But from the time it comes on, you cannot take your eyes off that movie at all.
The way that the DP did the lighting, the storytelling before they even spoke, right?
They shot it in daytime. If the story, the dialogue was so intense, it hooks you from the very beginning because you know something is coming, and they just make you wait. They make you wait. They make
anticipation. You're right. You're right.
It's amazing. So if you want to be a good storyteller, then stay out of final draft. That's the worst thing you could do to yourself is try to write a great story in final draft.
So basically, to sum up, to recap what you said, you can write it in Word and then just transfer it over to final draft.
Right. Read your first sentence. See what your mind tells you because you already know what the sentence says. Now, see what kind of world you want to put it in. You create that world, include that sentence, and then you go to the next one. Your story's already told over here, so you don't have writer's block, right? You only have writer's block when you don't have a story to tell. Or if you have a good idea and you don't think it through and you start writing and you bump into a brick wall. Well, that's because you didn't have a complete story in the first place.
So let's say we got some student film students out there, or people who just graduated, or they just got a camera in their hand. For whatever their situation is, they want to go out with their own little makeshift crew and start shooting film. Let's say that this coronavirus is over next week, hypothetically, and they want to go out and start shooting. From technical things for us like writing, the getting the right sound, rehearsing. I want you to get into that for us. The director of photography, the director, the actors, they all get together. I'd like you to go over all those technical things of the shot list. So for all the filmmakers out there, they can know the correct way to do it.
Well, everything starts with the screenplay, right?
Okay.
And this is another thing that storytellers, writers, whichever one you may be, need to understand that Hollywood wouldn't even exist without you, right? Because here's one. This is Black Baby right here. So if you don't have, I don't care what director you are, I don't care if you're Spielberg, I don't care if you're Lucas, Christopher Nolan. If you don't have one of these, that you don't have a movie. You can't go get no money. You can't do nothing. Nobody has a job. All these big actors walking around like they God's gift to men and women. Without one of these, without you writing it, they don't even have a career. So you are the one who birthed the idea from the beginning. You are the creator. You're kind of like God in this business, right? Because you are the creator. You're not just a creator, you are the creator that the entire industry relies on. And without one of these, no producer can go get no money to shoot anything. Because investors don't read these things. Investors, they don't read these because they couldn't, an investor couldn't tell you if this is worth his money or not. So they don't.
Now, can you get into that for as investors? Because you got investors to back your film. So can you bring people through how you did that?
Yeah, investors don't deal with screenplays because they don't have the ability to choose what's good and what's not. They have other people to do that. So what goes to the investor are numbers. What actors are you going to have in the movie? What is their star power? What is their value overseas? Okay, what did they do in their last film? So they run those numbers and say, hey, this actor will bring in 25 million overseas, 15 million over here if we put him in the movie. And then this actor right here does 50 million overseas in his last movie. So now we know how much to pay these different actors. And now we need a director. What's his value on the market? So if you go to IMDb, you'll see everybody's star value, right? So that star value is there because it represents money. What is this person worth? What is that person worth? So they run the numbers and they put them in three categories: high, mids, and lows. At, at the worst, we will do this much on this film with these actors, $1 million. At best, we can make $200 million, and in the middle, 150, right? So okay, so if at the low, if we can only make 1 million, if we fail, then we got to shoot this movie for under $50 million. Let's shoot it for 30. That gives us a 70% gap between our losses. Okay, so that's a pretty safe bet, and that's how they do it. Everything is numbers. Investors don't read screenplays. They only read a number sheet. There's a company downtown LA, $25,000. They do all of that stuff for you. They bring in they do all the breakdowns. They get the script read. They tell you how much it's going to cost to shoot it. They bring in the casting director. They do all of these things, and they will raise half the money. They will match yours. If they're going to shoot the whole film because they like the script, I know the CEO of the company, and they'll just pay for everything if they like the screenplay. But of course, you get a lot less because they pay for everything. So when it comes to investors, they got companies that do those kind of things. Now, when it comes to directing movies, you just got to remember there's pretty much four things you have to do. You have to block, and I'll explain what that is. You have to light, you have to rehearse, you have to tweak everything, and then you shoot. So those are the five things that you do on set. Blocking is the movement of the actors from start to where they start to where they finish. That's what blocking is. Staging is a part of blocking. Staging is where the camera is and where the camera moves. So as a director, you have to be the camera, right? Before the camera gets set, you're the camera. So when you block, you say, okay, you're gonna be over by the stove. You're gonna be at the countertop with a glass of wine in your hand. She's gonna walk to the refrigerator. You're gonna sneak over to the pot and take a piece of meat out of the pot and taste it, and run back to your seat. And then your wife is gonna go back to the stove, right? So, okay, so they do that. The sound guy watches it because he needs to know where to hold that the boom pole mic. The DP watches it because they're moving, so we can't have them moving out of the light, right? So all of that is in blocking. Now, when that is happening, as a director, you need to walk around, follow the actors, stand in one corner to see where you're going to get your wide shot. And what you see is what you want the camera to see. And if you're not in the best spot, then you don't put your camera there. So your eyes are the first camera, right? So when you are moving and I'm watching you, do I want to watch you from this side? Do I want to watch you from that side? Do I want to follow you from the back? Whatever's interesting to your eyes, that's what you're going to have your camera do. So that's blocking. Lighting is where I see most films suck. If you go to the trailer that I did, Expensive Death, you'll see how
Expanse from Death? Oh, okay.
Expensive Death. You'll see the lighting, how the light is set. The lighting is tremendous. So for all of those people who are out there, just go to Expense of Death, pull it up. It's about a minute and a half long.
It'll be in the description at the bottom of the screen once we're done interviewing you. It's really good trailer about the female. It was the hit woman.
Yeah, yeah.
Looks very interesting.
So I was the DP on that also. So I'm really good at lighting because I started out as a photographer. This was after me and you were hanging out at Starbucks. But the lighting and the color, whatever the surroundings are in the kitchen, you need to have, if you get the color wheel and you see the spectrum, they need to be dressed in colors that complement, the background colors need to complement what they have on. So we can see, right? So when you light something, you also got to deal with the color of the surroundings and the color of what they have on. That's all a part of it. And so the lighting You have to have lights where we see it in the eyes, so you see those little stars in there, right? And you never light from the front because it gives you a flat edge. And not unless you're doing comedy, everything is bright in comedy. It's like lights everywhere, right? In comedy, but in drama, let's see. In drama, you want to one side lit and to see how the other side is dark.
Mm-hmm.
See that? So that's how you have to do the light. And lighting is something that DPs does, but it would help if the director understands some lighting. And then the next is the rehearsal. I always rehearse with my actors individually before we ever get on the movie set, one-on-one, one day, if nothing else, with each actor. So you can hash out their character, do some blocking with them, and then when all the actors show up on the set, they don't use that as the first rehearsal because I've already rehearsed with each major character. So when they show up on the set, they have already been rehearsed, right?
Individually by you.
Essentially. So most people, they come to they shoot a movie and they send the script to the actor, and then all the actors show up the same day to start shooting the movie, right? And then so they try to have a quick rehearsal on set, and they tell them that's terrible. That's kind of like suicide. It's like, why would you do that? You need to rehearse with your actors by yourself. And then when you get on the set, then you do the blocking and the rehearsal. And then after you do that, you kind of tweak everything and then you shoot. So you got to remember blocking, lighting, rehearse, tweak, and then shoot the scene. Those are the things that you have to do.
I'm sure those people out there right now are writing all that good information down.
Yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to do it in that order. And there's a reason why they do it in that order because you have sound guys.
Can you give our viewers any time where you think Black Baby might be start shooting?
I wish
I know after the coronavirus, obviously, but yeah.
It's kind of hard with with everything shut down because I can't hire no actors. I can't bring nobody on the set. Anybody gets sick.
No doubt. Yeah.
And I can't imagine any actor. There's some kissing scenes in there and things like that. I can't imagine any actor coming to the scene and want to kiss anybody at this moment. You know what I mean?
I don't think so either.
I don't think so neither. So
You know what, Moshe? I know you're real busy. You're preoccupied with all your upcoming films. Once this thing break, would you mind coming back with us and kind of like letting us know where you're at?
Oh, not a problem. When we on the set, we can record some stuff, or you can do a live broadcast from the set.
Oh, okay. I'll bring the camera out there then. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let me say this one thing, and a lot of people are going to take it the wrong way, but then as they study it, they'll take it the right way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Me personally, I have an ego, right? It's huge, right? But without an ego, because the ego has wings, right? So without an ego, without wings, you can't fly. Your mind can't fly, right? And so when I met my girlfriend, the one I'm with now, Delisa, who you know, I told her, I said, I'm a very self-centered man. She said, oh, that's terrible. I said, why? I said, if I'm self-centered, that means myself is in the center of me. And to be in the center means to be totally balanced. So if you're not self-centered, then you off-centered. And that's the worst place to be. And all of that comes out in your writing, right? So the world doesn't know it yet, but I am one of the best storytellers that's gonna go down in history that ever lived. Because I got 13 goddamn screenplays that don't nobody even know because I started late in my career because I was building companies in my younger days. I worked for 7 law firms. I mean, my salary was like crazy, $38,000 a week. It's like stupid money, right? So I started this at a late career. But I can tell you the screenplays that I put together, they ain't nothing like them on the market. And I dare anybody to try to go up against them. But that's me. And my stories are like that. They're that bold, they're that arrogant, and they will bite into you. They will bite into your soul. Black Baby is gonna piss off a lot of people.
I read some of your earlier screenplays, and I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
I have
that's,
no doubt that there's going to be a dynamite film. Now, I don't feel so bad, Moshe, about having a big ego. I've been called to have an ego bigger than God sometimes. So now I don't feel so bad now.
because
Man,
comes out
it helps you focus, right?
it comes out in your writing. This is what it means. It means you will never settle for less.
No.
See, the negative conflict, the tag that they put on being arrogant and self-centered is to turn you into a loser. But I'm going to tell you
Right.
something. I'm going to tell you something. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, right? Muhammad Ali was 19 years old. He used to come over my house. Uh,
Really?
he used to hang out with my older sister in Louisville, Kentucky, on 41st Street between Garland and C.
Damn.
And he was driving a freaking Volkswagen at the time. And this dude had a mouth that you could not ever shut up. He used to drive me crazy on the front porch. I went out there and stuck a can opener under the dude's tire, thinking he would roll over and I can bust his tire, right? But that's up.
For real?
That's up. And the thing went over. But I don't care who you look at, whether it was Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
any Donald Trump, I don't care who you look at. The only way you gonna do something great is you better be great. And if you don't know it, that's your problem.
You got to be your biggest fan, right?
I am my biggest fan because I'm the best at what I do. And it doesn't matter to me who believes it or who don't believe it. All I'm saying is, if you don't believe you are, you're not. That's what I'm saying. If you don't believe you are, then I take your word for it that you're not.
And that's a good takeaway for the viewers out there who want to be filmmakers. You're only big as you want to be. If you're not your biggest fan, don't expect someone else to come back and pick up the slack for you, right?
Right. And especially dealing with our race, right? We have
Mm-hmm.
a 400 history tag of slavery that was put on our ancestors, right? So a lot of their pride was taken by what was done to them, right? So if anybody has a right to have an ego, it's us. Anybody. So if you are one of the people from our races, if you don't have one, go get one, dude. Quit. Point out the stars. You have to. I heard they extinct or something. Still take one because you're gonna need it for the long haul. Arrogance is not a bad thing
You
because
make it look easy.
it's gonna come out in your writing.
Yeah.
If you really want to be arrogant, here's what you do: make sure you do the work to be the boss. Don't go out there with an ego. Don't go out there being arrogant if you don't have the work to back you up. Because then that's the negative part. That's the part that people are really talking about when you're arrogant and you don't have no darn reason to be.
Because you got no script, you don't have any training, you don't understand lighting when you're doing DP work, things like that. You just come out and say, I want to be a filmmaker, and you got no ammunition with you, right?
No, you got to pay the price. I mean, look, I spent 7, 8 years doing nothing but writing for 14 to 18 hours a day. Didn't take a break. I lived in my car. I stayed in Starbucks for 16 hours, and
I
that was
was there with you writing my books, remember?
the time in my life because I had no responsibility.
Yeah.
All I could do was write. So I paid the price for all of that, dude. I learned every part of this industry. And I up into this day, I think this time in my life, I'm just now starting to come down off of the 18-hour days. I've written 100 songs.
That's what I wanted to put in. You do your own soundtracks for all your films, right?
I'm a musician. I play 4 different instruments. I have my own studio, right? So I'm a musician, I'm a producer, songwriter, I can do the scripts, I can do your DP. I can direct your movies, and I know how to raise money. But all of that took a lot of years, right? So here's the key for all of you people who are listening. If you don't do nothing else, do this in life. And this is, even if you're not in this business, this is the one thing you must do in life. Every 5 to 7 years, become a professional in another trade. If you are a writer, become a professional something. Whether if it's a producer or director, I have nothing to do with this business. Speaking French. Whatever you do, every 7 years, pick up a trade and bring it to a professional level. Every 7 years. This way, you can talk like I talk, and you can back it up. Because I can write songs, I can produce you, I can lay tracks, I can do it. I'm a sound engineer, so when I record my movies, that's why Expensive Death sounds so good. I just worked on a film called Clown Fear that got picked up by Lionsgate, and they hired me. They hired me to do all their backgrounds, interviews, videography, still photography. I did it all, and I'm here to tell you, all of what I did is better than their movie.
You do all that out of your studio, right?
Yeah.
Digital Mind Media.
No, actually, we changed the name. It's Hollywood Titanic.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
It's the new name of it. It's Hollywood Titanic Pictures. And for all of who are on this webcast, remember that name because it's going to be one of the hottest names in this industry.
Mosheh, I would love to have you back on again, man. I'm glad you came by. Thank you for letting me talk to you or for you to talk to our audience. Really appreciate it, man. And like I said, when Black Baby starts to get into production, let me know. I would love to go out there and do some behind the scenes filming. Thank you for the offer. I would love to do it.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah, man. You kind of slipped it in there. I want to do that if you'll have me.
You have a camera?
I really like to have you back on Writer's Block again whenever all this mess, gets cleared up and you get back to shooting that movie. I want to get, the whole progress of it and everything. So as much as you let me see.
You have a camera?
I got one. It's not tape. It's a Nikon.
I mean, but is it for shooting?
Yes, sir. Pardon?
You can record with it?
Yes.
1080p?
It's not as fancy as yours, but yes. Good for doing interviews and everything, yes.
Okay, as long as it's 1080p, because the stuff, the behind the scenes only gets uploaded to the internet anyway. So as long as it's 1080p, I would love to do that.
That's what's up, man.
For all the writers, just remember, do not write dialogue from one character to another character. Okay? You only are communicating with your audience. You gotta know that.
Y'all hear that? You write for the audience.
Watching Quentin Tarantino's movies, he's one of the best dialogue guys out there. And he's always talking to you. And that's what writers need to know. You're not talking to the character. You're talking to you. And that's how you get people, that's how you grab people and suck them into your movie. It's when you're talking to them, you take them out of their seats, you take them on a journey, you smack them, you kick them, you spit on them, and you slam them up against the wall, then you clean them up, and then you sit them back down at the end of the movie, and you do like this, and they love you for it. That's what you do. You write, you talk to your audience.
You blessed us today, oh shit. Thanks, Jason. All the information that you gave us, you just blessed us with it. I'm telling you. Appreciate this, man.
Yes, sir.
Writer's Block, we're going to sign off for now, but we got all of Mr. Mosheh Israel's information in the description. Go check out his IMBD. You have all his films there. He has a Facebook page, and he has a YouTube channel. So y'all need to go subscribe to his YouTube channel also, okay?
Check out the trailer, though. It's really lit well.
All right, my brother. Peace.
Okay, Marcus. Thank you.